starting our session with the Social Security Administration. And just a couple quick announcements. If anyone has any trouble today with the presentation due to not being able to access what you need to understand what's going on in terms of resources, if you need accommodations, whatever, please let us know. Email us at coccareer at snhu.edu, and we will make sure that you get connected with whomever you need to make sure that in the future you have what you need. And if you need any help with your career planning, your internship search, your job search, career decision making, again, contact SNHU Career Services at coccareer@snhu.edu. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to David Marshall, who's got some great information to share with us. And David, why don't you take it away?
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. And good afternoon, everybody. I know we've had some new folks that have joined since we did the introduction, so I'll just do that real quickly again. My name is David Marshall, and I am the Kansas City Region's Recruitment and Retention Coordinator for the Social Security Administration. Here in our region, the Kansas City region, we have the states of Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, and Nebraska. And I've worked for the agency for a little over 31 years now. And personally, I've found it to be very fulfilling and rewarding as a career, and I think we have a great mission of public service. So we're going to tell you a little bit more about that. So here is a quick rundown of the who, what, why, and where of Social Security. So regarding who we are one of the largest federal agencies in the country. We have almost 60,000 employees nationally. Now, Social Security started back in 1935 when FDR signed the Social Security Act. This act was intended to provide for the general welfare by establishing a system of federal old age benefits and helping states make more adequate provisions for aged and disabled persons. That was part of Roosevelt's New Deal program. Taxes were first collected starting in 1937, which is also when the first benefits started being paid. Now, Social Security has expanded its purpose over the years, and we now administer retirement, disability, and that's both Social Security disability and SSI, along with survivor benefits and Medicare. As for why we do what we do, it really comes down to public service. Many people depend on Social Security to survive, and knowing you have a part in that mission, that's pretty rewarding. So as for where we're located, we have field offices located in each of our 50 states, along with teleservice and program service centers that are located in other various cities across the U.S. Now, our field offices are where the public comes in to conduct business face-to-face, and they also handle situations over the phone. Our teleservice center is staffed by people that answer our 1-800 number, and our program service center is where we take post-adjudicative actions on cases that aren't able to be automated. So it has actually the least public contact of the three components. Now, our job opportunities, our entry-level positions that we normally post for externally include contact representatives, and that position is found in our field offices, our teleservice centers, and our program service centers. These positions usually are posted at the GS5, GS6, or GS7 grade levels with a career ladder that goes up to a GS8. Now, the responsibilities for each depend on the component, but they all do involve contact with the public, either in person or on the phone. Next, we have our legal administrative specialist position, or benefit authorizer that we call it, and that is only located in our program service centers, of which we have 8 throughout the country. This position is usually posted at the GS5 or GS7 grade level with a career ladder up to a GS9. Now, this position deals heavily in analysis of our records and correction of items that cannot be automated. So anybody that likes puzzles, they normally do pretty well in this position. And as I mentioned, it has the least public contact. Our last position on this slide is our social insurance specialist or claims specialist position, and that is located in multiple components as well, including our field offices, our program service center, and what we call workload support units, which can be in multiple components. These positions deal with adjudication of claims, and they're usually posted at either the GS5, GS7, or even the GS9 level with a career ladder that goes up to a GS11. Now, with the salaries that are showing there is an asterisk next to each one of those, and that is because these are the general salaries. But for anybody that lives in more of a larger metro area, or I should say works in a larger metro area, those salaries are going to be a little bit higher than what is shown on this slide based on locality pay. So as you can see, we have many entry-level positions in many different components. So that provides some really great opportunities no matter what your skill set or where you're located. Personally, I started at a grade level below all of these. I started at a grade 3 file clerk way back in the day, and I've had 15 different positions during my career. That includes all the positions listed on this slide, as well as various team leader and management positions. So plenty of career and growth opportunities at Social Security, and you should be able to find something that fits your skill set and your interests. So next, I want to talk about federal benefits. So this is not just Social Security, but other federal agencies as well. It's a very big area of importance for us, and it's really a point of pride for federal agencies. So as you can see on the slide, aside from a paycheck, you also get paid vacation and sick leave. That starts from day one, along with 11 paid federal holidays. We have health benefits, including dental and vision, along with life insurance. And on top of that, we have not only our federal government pension, but we have a thrift savings plan, which is our version of a 401k. So our thrift savings plan allows you to invest in various funds and includes an additional up to 5% matching from the Social Security Administration. So to try to quantify the amount of our benefit package when you add all this stuff up, in some cases it can potentially be close to 50% of your actual gross salary. Now, most federal positions involve flexible schedules, and that includes Social Security, which means you can come in during a flexible band in the morning. So for example, in our program service center, they have hours of work that start at 6 o'clock and they can finish as late as 6 in the evening, so 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. So you could start your workday as early as 6 a.m. or as late as 9:30 a.m. or anywhere in between. So that flexible band is, of course, different depending on the component, but it is a really nice option regarding how you want to schedule your workday, along with other responsibilities you might have in your life outside of work. Most of our positions also have optional overtime available, and employees can earn credit hours, and they do that by extending their workday. So that allows you to build up additional paid time off. Again, that varies by component. And at Social Security, we also currently offer telework for our positions, which once again varies by component. So for instance, our field office employees, they currently can work from home 2 days a week, and then they're on site 3 days a week. Our teleservice center and program service center employees work from home 4 days a week, and then are on site 1 day a week once training is complete. Now, one thing to note is that we do require all employees live within 2 hours of their reporting duty station. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. And the last thing on this slide is federal employees are eligible for the Public Service Student Loan Forgiveness Program. So there are rules that go with that, but that is another nice benefit that we have. So I'm going to talk about our federal hiring process on this slide. And so here are some of the requirements that all applicants must meet in order to get hired. You have to be a U.S. citizen. If applicable, you must have registered with the Selective Service. You must pass a background and/or security investigation. All of our offers of employment are contingent upon passing that pre-screening background investigation. And then if you are selected, you are required to serve a probationary and/or trial period. Now, when it comes to how to apply for our entry-level positions, you have a couple options. We post our vacancies to usajobs.gov, so that is shown here. That's also where other federal agencies post their vacancies. Now, note that sometimes when we post, those are only open for 5 days, and some are open for months. So I really suggest if you don't already have an account in usajobs.gov to go in and set one up. Along with setting up that account where you can upload your resume, you can also set up notifications that will alert you when jobs in your area of interest or location are open. So outside of our non-competitive hiring authorities, which we do have, so VRA, which is the Veterans Recruitment Authority, we have Schedule A for disability, we have military spouse and Peace Corps, those are non-competitive. USAJobs.gov used to be the only way that you could apply for a position with Social Security. But good news, we recently were authorized use of what we call a direct hiring authority, and right now that is good through March of 2025. So what that means is we can now accept resumes for consideration of our entry-level positions that were listed on that prior slide. So again, for the Kansas City region, anything in the states of Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, and Nebraska, if anybody is interested, even if there's not a current posting in usajobs.gov, they can send a resume directly to kc.resumes@ssa.gov. Now, I mentioned that is specific for the Kansas City region and those 4 states. Some of the other regions will also have mailboxes like that, but not everyone does. Sometimes they might be specific to an actual component. And I do not know the email boxes for all of those. So if that's your question on where do I send something for this, if it's not in something that my colleagues here know more specific to the Boston region or New Hampshire, we would encourage you to go to ssa.gov/careers. There's information there on how to apply under the direct hiring authority. Resumes, I do always talk a little bit about this because federal resumes are much different than private sector resumes. So regarding resumes, the most effective federal resumes are ones that clearly articulate how your skills and experience align to the qualification requirements that are outlined in our vacancy announcements. I mentioned they're quite different than private sector resumes, and that's because there is no 1 or 2 page maximum length. It's very important to be articulate, but you should use as much space as needed to communicate your work experience. Your resume must be detailed in order to qualify you for our positions and appropriate grade levels. Now, our qualifications are based on education, experience, or a combination of the two. Those are going to be outlined in the vacancy posting. To receive credit for experience, you must provide a thorough description of experience in the resume, and that includes dates for each work experience listed. Now, dates of employment, this is very important. It should be listed in month, day, year format, and I'll tell you why. So if someone listed 2019 to 2020 for a job, the staffing specialist that's going to be looking over that, they don't know if you worked December 31st of 2019 through January 1st of 2020. That was 2 days of experience. That's not really going to count. Or maybe it's 2 full years of experience. You worked the entire years of 2019 and 2020. So very important to actually list that in month, day, year format. Also encourage you to read the required specialized experience section. So your resume should clearly explain your experience in all or most of those areas as applicable to you. Common requirements that we have include applying rules, policies, or procedures to provide customer assistance, answering or asking questions to obtain or provide information, and then experience using a computer to enter data. And lastly, using general phrases like I did payroll accounting. That really doesn't tell us a whole lot. Doesn't tell us use the computer. You probably used computer programs, likely used other automation tools. You want to make sure that you're listing those. It's really important you're specific in communicating what you actually did, how you did it, and if it did make a difference, you want to make sure that's listed. Note here, since this is a college event, a 4-year degree will automatically qualify you for our entry-level positions that we've mentioned. So providing that transcript is also very important. Now, if you don't have a 4-year degree, you can still qualify, but that's going to be based on experience or that combination of education and experience. So as we wrap up this part of the session, I did want to let you all know where you can find out more information on our positions. So we previously mentioned ssa.gov/careers. That's a really great way to get information on how to apply, information on our career paths and our positions, and then our special hiring programs. And we also recently added some what we call day in the life videos. It's a way to kind of see what people do in the different positions, our entry-level positions, as well as there's an agency benefits overview also. Those can also be found on the SSA.gov careers website, as well as Handshake and LinkedIn. You can find them there for Social Security. So before I open it up for questions from the group, I did want to post the most common questions that I get from students when they're potentially interested in a career with SSA. So I'm going to give you those answers now. The top one we get, do we have internships? And at the moment, I'm not aware that our regions do. If any do, it's not many of them. But this is something that we do hope to offer in the future. But right now, if we have them, there's not many of them. Second, it's usually followed by, do you have remote positions? And I know the pandemic certainly opened up remote stuff for us, and so this is a very common question. I will say all the entry-level positions I mentioned earlier, none of them are 100% remote. So that means you do have to be on site while in training, and you do have to have the ability to work from home once training is completed. I mentioned before, we do require employees do live within 2 hours of their duty station. Another question we get quite a bit, there's a lot of international students, and they want to know if they can work for SSA. This was actually one of the requirements. You do have to be a U.S. citizen to work for SSA. So just having work authorization will not fit the bill. You have to be a U.S. citizen. How long is training is another common question we get, and this really depends on the position, but normally between 3 to 7 months. So you're paid while you go through the training, which is great. But most of the time when you're going through training, you're going to be under a fixed shift during that training period. And the reason for that is we tend to cluster our trainings where people are together. So everybody has to start and stop at the same time. The last question that I'll put up here, or answer I should say, is do you have part-time positions? And that answer is we do, but they're limited in number, and employees do have to be finished with training before they can submit a request to be part-time. So I know there's a lot of information there. So at this point, I'm going to open it up to you for any questions you might have that are not addressed on this slide. And you already know we've got some other SSA folks in the room with me that can help answer questions. We got Patrick Cook, who's in the Boston region, and Angela Hubbard, who is a manager in our Manchester, New Hampshire office.
Tori Lynn, I noticed you were watching the chat very closely. Would you mind reading a few of those questions that came in earlier?
Absolutely. So we had one question that was just answered. He just answered a question from Jared wanting to confirm whether or not you had to be within the 2 hours of your duty station. So that question was just answered. Another question that someone had was, what if they finish their degree in August, are they still eligible to apply now?
Yes, yep, they would still be eligible to apply. With this direct hiring authority going through March of 2025, what they will do is they will keep your resume. So if it was something that your eligibility would be based just on that college degree, if you maybe didn't have the work experience, you would still want to submit that and you could still apply, and they will hold on to that resume, and then they could reach out to you down the road if they have a vacancy available.
Great, thank you for that response. So there was another question in the chat, and I'll read it so I can make sure I get the complete context of the question. So they said, I know Social Security Administration has the Ticket to Work program. However, if they did not want to use that to return back to the workforce, do you all hire people that are on disability currently that will be completing their degree this year?
We do. And that was one of the, I briefly mentioned this, but we have what's called a Schedule A hiring authority. That's another one of our non-competitive authorities. And so for Schedule A, if you have a documented disability, normally your doctor can provide you with a Schedule A letter, and you would want to provide that with your resume, and you could be considered that way.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Had a couple more questions. I don't know if you want to keep the questions going or if you would like to continue with the segment or continue on to the next segment?
So I've got 426. Why don't we wrap it up around 428 so we can get a couple more questions in quickly, if that's okay, David?
Yep, that's great.
Okay, sounds good. So we have another question. Rihanna asks, how can we increase our chances if we have no real work experience?
Yeah, I would say your chances there are going to be increased if you have that degree. So without work experience, the degree is really your ticket there. That 4-year degree does qualify you automatically for our positions. And I will say this, when people say no real work experience, I want to put this in there because sometimes people think, well, I worked at McDonald's. That's not really relevant work experience. It actually is because it's customer service experience. And so again, it is taking that experience and putting it in your resume to give you credit for the things you do. There are food laws, there are food regulations, you're working with customers. All of those things are transferable and something that we're going to look at for qualifications.
Thank you, David. I appreciate that response, and just very similar to what you just said. A lot of us don't realize that we have a lot of transferable skills that can be applied, pretty much across the board. So like you said, that customer service piece is huge. We had another question where someone asked about, are the majority of the positions that you have, are they entry level?
They are, yep. And I'll segue this into one of the things I know that a lot of people ask about are IT positions, and we certainly do hire for those externally. But I know, like in my region, the majority of those IT positions are actually filled as an internal promotion. So we actually use the folks that have come in through the entry-level positions, and they kind of work into that. Most of your IT stuff, if it is going to be posted externally, that's going to be from our headquarters in Baltimore, Maryland.
Awesome. Okay. Thank you so much. I will just kind of hold off. I know, Mark, you said you want to give us the 428, so it's that time now. So I'll just keep fielding the questions from the chat.
Awesome. Thank you so much. The folks that are in here, many of you probably want to go to another session, and we do have another group that are coming in just less than 2 minutes. So we'll wrap this up. If you asked a question, it did not get answered, contact us at cocecareer@snhu.edu. We can either answer it for you or we'll help you get the answer from our folks. So with that, I'm going to thank everyone who came, and David and Angela and Patrick, thank you. But you guys hang out, take a quick breather, glass of water, whatever. We're going to get started in about a minute. So otherwise, thank you, everyone. And you can log out now and get ready to jump in your next session.
Bye, everybody. Good luck.
If you want to hear David's presentation a second time, you can stay. You're more than welcome. I know I'm going to.